Today we're going to talk about going backwards from what we've been doing in the past. So we've talked about adding, subtracting polynomials. We talked about multiplying polynomials. In the last couple of homeworks, we've talked about multiplying binomials. Here we're going to work backwards. We're going to go from a trinomial and try to create those two binomial factors, so factoring. So we should be able to factor trinomials by the time we're done. Quick review. We're going to go ahead and multiply these two binomials out. And then we're going to pay a lot of attention to what happens when we double distribute. So first steps, double distribute. So we're going to go here and here. So we get x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12. And then we know that we combine like terms. So x squared plus x minus 12. But pay particular attention to what if we went backwards? What if we went from this trinomial and tried to get to that binomial? Well, we have to go through this middleman. And look at this middleman. What do you know about these two guys compared to that guy? Hopefully you notice that negative 3 and 4 will multiply to give you negative 12, which means that negative 3 and 4 are factors of negative 12. Now look at those two middle terms, and how are they related to this middle term down here? Well, hopefully you're noticing that if you add those two middle terms together, you're combining like terms to get to 1x. Last but not least, pay a lot of attention to the fact that this is plus 4, and look here. This is minus 3, and look here. If you can kind of start to see what's going on here, then you already figured out how to factor a trinomial. There's a pattern. We're going to do the same thing here for the second one. Double distribute. We get x squared minus 7x plus 1x minus 7. And then, of course, when we combine like terms, we get this here. Okay? Play the same game. Look at these guys in comparison to this. They're factors of negative 7. And then look at these two guys compared to this. If we add negative 7 and 1, we get negative 6. And last but not least, check this out. Negative 7 and 1 were the two numbers that we had in the parentheses. So I'm hoping that what you're seeing is that if we're going to go from the trinomial to the binomial, the trick is this. We know that the middle term comes from two like terms. And we have to create those two like terms. We need to be able to take negative 7 and that negative 6x and create the two middle terms, negative 7x and plus 1. Because that's what goes up in here. How do we do that? Well, like we said, negative 7 and 1 are factors of this last term, and they add to this middle term. That's how we create those two numbers in the parentheses. And that's our trick. Okay? We also need to remember, we don't want to forget greatest common factors. The very first thing you always do when you start to factor is look for a greatest common factor. So if we do this quickly, I'll give you a little bit of a head start. Your greatest common factors here. For the number 3, 4 is the large number divided into both of those coefficients. They both have at least one x, and they both have at least 4 y's. So there's your greatest common factor. Here, 5 will go into both coefficients, and they both have at least 2 x's in common. So 5x squared would be your greatest common factor. Here, 5 is your greatest common factor. No x, because there's no x on this 10. And here, 2 is your greatest common factor. No x, because there's no x on this 16. And so we're going to want to factor those out first, and then worry about our trinomial factoring. But here's our rules for factoring. Anytime you see the words factor or factor completely, the very first thing you want to look for is the GCF and factor that out. And we've done this process already. The next step, it says make parentheses. And so what that means is we know that a trinomial is going to factor into two binomials, so we're going to make two sets of parentheses to get ready. what goes in this first term here is just our first term factored. So if we go back, if we factor x squared, we factor it into x and x. And that's the first term in those two parentheses. So that's what we're talking about there. So list the factors of the first term, list the factors of the last term. And number 5 says fill in factors and draw smiles. But the draw smiles, while it's a good check, may not be necessary if we're choosing our factors very carefully. Okay? I'll show you what I mean by draw smiles. All right? So let's put this to the test. Number 7 says factor completely. First thing we look for is a greatest common factor. If we look, the only number that will divide into all three coefficients is a 1. And they don't have any, and all three of them do not have x's. So the greatest common factor is 1, which we don't have to worry about factoring out. Okay? So instead, we start with making our parentheses. And what we saw from the first two review problems is that I want to come up with two terms in the middle that will add to 3x. And I need to come up with those two terms from factors of this guy. So what I need factors of 2 that add to 3. Well, factors of 2 are 2 and 1. And don't forget negative 2 and negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Now, which of those two pairs add to 3? Well, obviously 2 plus 1 does. So we would essentially expand this out to 2x plus 1x. As we saw in those first two problems, these are the two numbers that go in the parentheses. So we go plus 2 plus 1. Now, the first term comes from this first term factored. X squared factors into x and x. So I'm going to stick an x here, stick an x here, and we are now finished. If I FOILed this out, if I double distributed the x plus 2 and combined like terms, we would get x squared plus 3x plus 2. We have now we've now created our two binomial factors. Okay? A little bit quicker. Okay? First things first, GCF. The GCF here, the greatest common factor, is a 1 again, so I'm not going to worry about factoring anything out first. Create your parentheses, factor the first term. X squared factors into x and x, so I'm going to put x here and x here. Now I need factors of negative 3 that will add to 2. That's negative 3 and 1, or negative 1 and 3. Which one adds to positive 2? What's that one? So I'll put a minus 1 here and a plus 3 here, and we're done. Is this making some sense? Okay. Number 9. Number 9, we need to look for a greatest common factor first, and if you look, they all do have x's. As a matter of fact, they all have at least one x. So we are going to factor one x out. If I divide x to the third by x, we get x squared. Divide x squared by x, we get x. And if we divide x by x, we get 1. So we're pulling 1x off of all of those terms. And we're left with x squared minus 9x plus 8. Now, I can factor this trinomial. At least I think I can try. Still got to bring the x down. Okay? Make your two sets of parentheses. Factor the first term. Factors into x and x. Factor the last term, and we're looking for two factors that add to negative 9. And so 8, we go 8 and 1, negative 8 and negative 1, 4 and 2, negative 4, negative 2. Which one's add to negative 9? That one. Minus 8, minus 1. And there we're done. Okay? All right, try some on your own. Here's number 10. Give it a shot. We'll walk through it together. Okay. Greatest common factor first. It's just 1, so we're not going to worry about factoring it out. Factor the x squared into x and x. Now I need factors of negative 15. Well, go ahead and list them. 1 and negative 15, negative 1 and 15. Obviously, one of your factors is going to be positive, one is going to be negative because they need to multiply to negative 15. We can go 5 and negative 3, or we can go negative 5 and 3. Now we need the pair that adds to positive 2. Not that one, or that one. It's this one. So we go plus 5, and we go minus 3. And that's it. We're done. Okay? All right. Start to leave you alone. Work these out, and then check your answers as we go through. Okay? GCF is just a 1, so we're not going to factor anything out first. Factor out x squared, you get x and x. I need factors of negative 6. Well, negative 6 and 1, 6 and negative 1, negative 3 and 2, 3 and negative 2. Which one adds to positive 5? That one doesn't, that one doesn't, that one doesn't, this one does. So you go plus 6, minus 1, and we're done. Okay, try this one. Stop the video, start it back up, and check your answer. Okay, GCF is 1, so we don't factor anything out. Factor this guy into x and x. I need factors of positive 6, so 6 and 1, 3 and 2, negative 6 and negative 1, negative 3 and negative 2. Which one adds to positive 5? 6 plus 1 is 7. Negative 6 plus negative 1 is negative 7. Negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. It's 3 and 2. Plus 3, plus 2, and we're done. Okay, here's 13. Again, stop the video, start it back up, and check your answer. GCF is just 1. Factor the first one into x and x. List your factors of negative 6. Negative 6 and 1. 6 and negative 1. Negative 3 and 2. 3 and negative 2. Now, which one adds to negative 1? This one here. So we go minus 3 plus 2. Done. Okay? Keep factoring completely. Our instructions have not changed. Okay, hint here, look for the GCF first. Give it a shot. Stop the video, start it back up, and check your answer. Okay, GCF is 5. We actually do have a GCF here. So factor that out first. If we divide all these by 5, we get x squared minus 3x plus 2. Now factor in your trinomial into 2 binomials, x and x. Your factors of positive 2 are 2 and 1, negative 2 and negative 1. Which one adds to negative 3? It's this one. So we go minus 2, minus 1. And we're done. Keep going. Two parentheses. There's no GCF. Well, there's a GCF of 1, which we're not going to divide out. Factor the first term. Factors of 12. So 1 and 12. Negative 1, negative 12. 4 and 2. Oh, sorry, 4 and 3. Negative 4 and negative 3. 6 and 2. Negative 6 and negative 2. So there are quite a few factor pairs for 12. We need the one that adds to positive 8. If you go through and check them, it's this one. So we go plus 6, plus 2. All right? Next, try this one. Again, stop the video, start it back up, and check your work. GCF. There is a GCF of a 9x. 9 will divide into all three, 9, 27, and 36, and they all have at least one x. So if I divide everything by 9x, 9 divided by 9 is 1. X to the third divided by x is x squared. 27 divided by 9 is 3. X squared divided by x is x. Negative 36 divided by 9 is negative 4. X divided by x is 1. And so we're left with this. Create your two sets of binomials. Factor the first term into x and x. The last term, negative 4, can go negative 4, 1, 4, negative 1, 2, and negative 2. Which one adds to positive 3? Not that one, but this one. So we go plus 4, minus 1. Okay? Keep going. GCF is x, so factor out an x. You get x squared minus 5x minus 6. We're going to create our two sets of parentheses. Factor the first term into x and x. Negative 6 goes negative 6 and 1. 6 and negative 1. 3 and negative 2. Negative 3 and 2. Which one adds to negative 5? This one. So negative 6 plus 1. Here's 18. Okay, factor out a 4x this time as a GCF. And you get x squared minus 2x minus 8. List your factors of negative 8. So negative 8 and 1. 8 and negative 1, negative 4 and 2, 4 and negative 2. Which one adds to negative 2? This one. So we go 4x times our two sets of parentheses, x and x go here, minus 4 plus 2, and we're done. Okay. Here's 19. Try it. Check your answer. GCF of 3. We get x squared plus 7x minus 30. Now I need factors of negative 30. Negative 30 and 1. 30 and negative 1. What's next? 2 and 15. So negative 15 and 2. 15 and negative 2. What's next? 10 and 3. Negative 10 and 3. 10 and negative 3. 4, 5. 5, negative 5 and 6. 5 and negative 6. And that should be it. Wow, it's a lot. What are we looking for? We're looking to add to 7. Because this guy factors into x and x. Which one adds to 7? Obviously not that one, that one, that one, that one. That one adds to negative 7, but we want positive 7. So it looks like it's going to be this guy right here. 10 and negative 3. So we go plus 10, minus 3. One more. We should have enough practice to be good with this. Two sets of parentheses. Factor the first guy into x and x. There's no GCF or a GCF of 1, actually, but we're not going to factor it out. And now we need factors of negative 20. So negative 20 and 1. 20 and negative 1. We can go 10 and negative 2, or negative 10 and 2. Or we can go 4 and 5. So negative 5 and 4. 5 and negative 4. And that should be it. Which one adds to negative 19? Nope, nope. Not there, not there, not there, right there. So minus 20 and plus 1. And it really can be that easy. Okay. All right. That's it. So try the homework out in Canvas, and we'll take some questions next time.